YouTube! Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Perspective, entering week 6 of the NFL season. This is my weekly series, Sleeper Starts, Sleeper Sits. My name is Lucas. Welcome back. Starting to get into those bye weeks. We got 4 teams on byes this week. The byes of the week are the Falcons, Saints, Jets, and 49ers. So keep that in mind when you're making your starts and sits of the week. We do have a smaller player pool, but I still think I found you 3 or 4 sleeper starts and sleeper sits of the week. Schedule still remains the same. Every Tuesday, I'm going to come out with my sleeper starts and sleeper sits video. Every Wednesday, I'm going to have the football betting perspective with Jim Stroker. Last week during the football betting perspective, I went 5-1 on my Sizzling 6 picks of the week, and Jim went 6-0 on a Sizzling 6 picks of the week. That's 11-1 combined, by far the best week we had. Hope that trend continues. So if you're into betting football, which I know a lot of you guys are, tune into that because the content seems to be trending in a better direction, and we're getting better at football betting. Last but not least, every Thursday, we come out with daily fantasy perspective where we talk about FanDuel and kind of what we're doing in our FanDuel lineups of the week, players we like for their price, bargains, best defense of the week, stuff like that. So let's get into this video. Sleeper starts, sleeper sits, where we go over those fringe flex players. Like I said, it's going to start getting tricky as these bye weeks get in, but I think I have some for you, boys and girls. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, drop your questions below if you have any questions. Without further ado, please hit that intro, baby. All right, let's dig into the video. Sleeper starts, sleeper sits, week 6 NFL season. Fantasy football perspective, baby. Let's dig in. We're going to start off with our sleeper starts of the week. And it's this is where I start looking at some trends the last 2 weeks. And I love what I'm seeing with Antonio Brown. Going up against the Philadelphia Eagles, the Eagles have a very similar kind of secondary where they have a star corner as like the Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots do. They have Darius Slay, who usually shadows the best receiver. Those guys usually shadow either Chris Godwin or Mike Evans. Miami had a Xavier Howard doing the same thing, and New England has J.C. Jackson kind of doing the same thing. And Antonio Brown seems to be the most beneficial from that shadow coverage going opposite. Tom does not force throws into shadow coverage, and Antonio Brown gets a lot of targets. Because of that, 11-8 in the last 2 games respectfully. Got 2 touchdowns the game before. Similar defensive coverage with the Eagles. I expect another big game from Antonio Brown. Sleeper start of the week number 2, and this one's easy. I love both of the Pittsburgh Steelers receivers. Claypool or Deontay. If you guys didn't know, Juju's out for the season with a shoulder injury. They're going against the Seattle Seahawks defense. Yikes. Potentially the worst or second worst defense in the league. Collectively, expect big numbers from these guys. DFS plays of the week, in my opinion. Off the top of my head, these guys are going to put up monster numbers. I expect them the team collectively to score 30 to 40 points. Expect both these guys to hit the end zone. Claypool is more who I'm talking about because he is a fringe flex play for most people. So I'm definitely putting him in the flex in my lineups. Deontay, you're probably starting Deontay every week. I mean, he only had 2 targets last game, which is by far the worst he's done, but he did find the end zone and saved his game. But he's putting up a great season. Once you start digging into points per game and take away this dud where he didn't play, he's up there in the top, 5-10 receivers points per game. Sleeper start number 3, and this is purely off trends. Dalton Schultz, man. This dude is putting a heck of a season together. pretty standard, around 6 targets or 8 targets a game, but 6 receptions his last 3 games. 60 to 80 yards pretty consistently. If he finds the end zone, he gets up around 20 points. Dalton Schultz, man, they just have too many people to guard on the outside with CD and Amari, and Michael Gallup's getting ready to come back, which is going to add even more people for defenses to account for. He goes against the Patriots, and I just pulled up one of the Patriots' other games, and this is Cameron Brate had 6 targets against the Patriots defense. O.J. Howard had a target against the Patriots defense. This isn't the Patriots' last game, but I was trying to find an offense that kind of simulated or was the most like the Dallas Cowboys offense. And I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kind of do have a similar offense in the fact that they have 3 great receivers on the outside, just like the Cowboys. So I expect Dalton Schultz to get open. They just can't guard everyone, and he is the benefactor of a lot of receptions because of that. Definitely picking him to hit the end zone against the Patriots this coming week. So, to recap, sleeper starts of the week. Throw Antonio Brown in your lineups. Throw Chase Claypool in your lineups. And throw Dalton Schultz in your lineups. Quietly, the number 3 PPR tight end of the year through 5 weeks. All right, boys and girls, digging in again. We're going into our sleeper sits of the week. And the first sleeper sit of the week is no other than Tyler Lockett. And this is simple, guys. Geno Smith comes to town. He's now your starting quarterback, and he just does not throw the same long ball as Russell Wilson. Tyler Lockett is money on those deep passes, does great. I think it's going to be similar to, these 2 6 and 7 point games that he had a couple weeks ago. I just don't see him being the safest option this week with Geno Smith there, going up to that Pittsburgh defense, who was much improved last week. So, Tyler Lockett, first sit of the week. Robert Tanyan, I don't know what's going on there in Green Bay, but this guy's just not receiving the targets that he did the previous year. Look at this last year. He did have bad games too, but you could expect, 4 or 5 targets at least and some red zone opportunities. He's not getting that at all. Scored 1 touchdown so far this year. 2, 1, 2, 1. At this point, Robert Tanyan is almost droppable, and I was very, very excited for him going into this season, but it's just not a very good year so far. Maybe that turns around against Chicago Bears defense, but like I said, I'm going for safer options, and he just does not fit that safe option for me in my head. Last but not least, sleeper sit of the week, Laviska Shenault. I thought Laviska was going to eat last week. BJ actually said in our daily fantasy perspective show he was picking him in his FanDuel lineups. Thought he would be a good benefit after DJ Chark's injury to kind of get more targets. But, man, they just don't use him. They don't use him well at all. He's a yards after catch type guy. He had 1 reception for 58 yards and like 3 targets and really competing with no one. And this was against the Tennessee Titans, who gave up, almost 300 yards to Lawrence, almost 300 yards to Wilson, 200 yards to Tannehill, but they had a lot of receivers producing. And then it's just not a good sight. Going against the Miami Dolphins this week, a much harder matchup with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones out there. I just don't see a very successful week for Laviska Shenault. Like I said, just safer options. That does not mean that these guys just can't randomly get points. That's not what I'm saying. But I am going for more safer options when I'm deciding who's going to be my sleeper starts and sleeper sits of the week. So, to recap, sleeper sits of the week. Tyler Lockett with Geno Smith. Robert Tanyan just not getting that volume that we typically saw from him last year. And Laviska Shenault just not seeing the volume either in a couple of the games, especially last game, going against a better defense this week. If I said anything during this video that you found beneficial to you in making your lineups, like the video, share the video, please hit that subscribe button. We've kind of been stuck at 73 subscribers for a couple weeks now. I know it's kind of the down season in the fantasy football world because, a lot of people tune in to fantasy football channels at the beginning or before the fantasy football drafts to kind of get a draft strategy. And that's kind of the time where most of these channels grow in followers tremendously. But I want to continue to keep growing. I'm going to keep pumping out the content. I'm not going to get discouraged. But yeah, I hope this helps you. And remember, this is my perspective. If you have any questions, drop them below. You all have a great night. Happy Tuesday. Hope your week goes by fast. Peace.